Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Lil Dudes Insect Academy podcast. I'm super excited to be here in Washington, D.C. At the ESA conference, and I'm here with my friend Berenice. So I'm super excited to just talk bugs with you for a little bit and get into the nitty-gritty of all the things you've worked on. So welcome to the show, Berenice. Go ahead and introduce yourself for us.
Thank you so much. So my name is Berenice Romero. I'm about to finish my PhD at the University of Saskatchewan in Canada. And I've basically spent many years playing around with insects, mostly about their behavior and the different decisions that they make when it comes to choosing plants.
Yeah. Okay, very interesting. Yeah, and we'll get into that in just a minute. But first, let's just go over a little bit of your schooling. Where are you from, and what was your kind of path with your education so far?
Okay, so I started my degree in biology at the University of Buenos Aires in Argentina.
Okay.
And back then when I started, all I knew was that I was interested in biology. Wasn't really sure what exactly.
Yeah.
But the good thing is that when I was in high school, my natural sciences teacher was very into this kind of like science communication. So in addition to the lessons we had, she gave us this kind of like, it's kind of like a series of books written by different scientists, but for a more general audience.
Okay.
So that really caught my attention,
Right.
and drove me all the way to biology.
Yeah.
And then during my second year, everyone had to take this introduction to zoology course.
Right.
And the kind of like, so rumor has it that for those second year students who took that zoology course and then botany, those courses defined what you were gonna like. So it was either plants or
Testing it all. Yeah.
Yeah. So and the nice thing about zoology is that they walked us through everything, the small things, the big things, invertebrates, vertebrates. And I just found insects fascinating.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is what I want to do.
Yeah, and it was pretty instantaneous. Like it didn't take a while for you to figure it out, or it was like, this is what I want to do when you figured it out. It's like sure about it, or
it was like, okay, I know I like insects, but what direction you want to go from here?
right.
Like defining, do I like classifying things? Do I like genetics? What kind of insect? Because it's very different if you work with bees than if you work with, I don't know, maybe a caterpillar.
Yeah.
So then my second kind of like, I don't know, those kind of like moments where you're like, ooh, this is it.
Yeah.
So I was taking organic chemistry.
Right.
And we had this researcher come give us like a guest lecture on chemical compounds that mediated interactions.
Interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And he talked about pharmaceutical uses and that kind of stuff. But then he was like, hey, guys, there's a lot that we get from plants. So at one point he mentioned this kind of like chemistry in plants and how important they were for sometimes defending themselves against insect herbivory.
Okay.
And I was like, ooh, that's kind of like interesting. So the next thing I did was basically like try to Google if there was anyone within like a fair distance that I could talk to, because that was something that I wanted to see.
Yeah.
And I was lucky enough that that's when I found my previous supervisor. He introduced me to this whole like plant-insect interactions world, and it started there, and it's been going on for years.
Wow. Yeah. So what are you working on right now? Like, where has that led you?
So right now it's kind of like one more level of complexity. So you have plant-insect interactions, but then there's some pathogens that
Right.
these insects, some insects can carry. So it would be plant-insect pathogen interaction.
Oh, interesting.
So the tricky thing is that it's a pathogen that the insects carry, but that affect plants.
Right.
So it's kind of like a more agricultural concern, depending on what crop or commodity you work with.
Right.
So that's basically where I'm at right now.
Okay. Yeah. So what specific interactions have you been studying so far?
Okay, so back in Argentina, I work with two pests of soybeans.
Okay.
One was full armyworm, so like a really chunky caterpillar, and the other one was thrips, which
Yes.
is a teeny tiny insect. And then eventually, as part of my grad studies, it's been canola, but other kind of like some other plants like cereals.
Okay.
The insect would be Aster leafhopper, and then the pathogen would be Phytoplasma asteris, which is like a special type of bacteria.
Interesting. Yeah. So what are some of the things that you have found with that so far?
That's actually like an excellent question. So,
If anything. I know it's a work in progress always, but
we knew that canola got really horrible symptoms, super affected by the pathogen itself. And then I did some like assays to be like, hey, leafhoppers, where do you want to go hang out? And canola was horrible. So they didn't like to lay eggs on them.
Right.
The few immature insects couldn't even survive on canola.
Right.
So I was like, so that's kind of like sort of like a question now. See, like, what's going on, and why is it canola so affected by the pathogen?
Right.
But when you think about the insect that carries the pathogen, the insect doesn't even want to go hang out around canola. So it's something that at some point we're going to be able to figure it out. But we noticed that based on some results from some experiments we did.
Very interesting. Wow. Yeah. So you sort of talked about you had this turning point where you were like, yes, entomology is what I want to do. But you've always been interested in biology before that, right? What was kind of the why were you always interested in biology, or do you know? What were you originally working towards?
I guess that when I was much younger, I used to spend my summers. So my grandma has this kind of like weekend house in this more like rural community, and we had no cable, no Wi-Fi.
Right.
And basically it was going for a walk or and my grandma's neighbor had beehives.
Oh, nice.
So we saw her every once in a while with her suit,
Cool.
trying to like find the queen that sometimes escaped.
Yeah.
And my mom sort of like encouraged me to go like observe what was going on under
Right.
a log, under a pebble.
Yeah.
And from those weekends, sometimes I would collect a pupa and bring it back home and just like see what kind of butterfly I got.
Yeah.
So I think that those were kind of like the first steps that were like, oh, I like these like living beings, and
Yeah.
it's interesting and fascinating what their lives look like.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Very cool. So, who has kind of been one of your kind of mentors or who inspires you? Do you have any inspirational people in your life, either that you know or just know of, or people you look up to?
So people that I know, I think that's easier. So I would say that I had three. One was my supervisor in Argentina, Dr. Jorge Zavala.
Okay.
Because he was the one who knew that I had no prior experience,
Right.
but that I really wanted to learn, and he really put a lot of effort
Right.
into teaching me not only about specific protocols, but also
Right.
teaching me to be like more curious and how to ask the right questions
Right.
and set up those experiments to answer the question.
Exactly. Yeah.
And he's someone that I'm still in contact with
Very cool.
up to this day.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to see him in December.
Oh, very cool.
And then second person would be my current supervisor.
Yeah.
He's basically similar to Jorge, but the American version.
Yeah.
That would be Sean Prager, who is
Okay.
American, but is in Canada.
Yeah.
And then the third person was just like, I can't even remember how I started talking to her.
Right.
But it's basically this super mega expert in this really cool technique that she helped develop many years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I initially reached out to her just with a question as in like, oh, am I going in the right direction, or am I just like, I don't know, silly, or
Yeah.
like, am I not really getting?
Right.
And ever since then, she's set up some time to have conversations with me and like really explain to me things that I would not have been able to find in a
Right.
publication.
Right.
Like, she's been a huge mentor, and her name is Elaine Backus,
Right.
and she's in California.
Yeah.
So those would be like the three people that I would be like, oh, they are important in terms of what my career has been like.
Very cool. Yeah, it's important to have those people in your life to kind of push you forward and making sure you're asking the right questions. But yeah, that's really awesome. How about some other activities or hobbies that you enjoy in your spare time? Like maybe related to entomology or maybe not at all. What do you do in your spare time usually?
Okay, so related to entomology, I do like extension activities a lot.
Okay.
So whenever there's an opportunity to have maybe like a workshop with high school students or
Yeah.
middle schoolers, we usually sign up for it, like with the lab.
That's awesome.
But then I also need me time, and in those moments, I do like swimming a lot.
Nice.
And then, I'm currently living in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, where it can get to minus 40 Celsius
Oh, man.
in
Yeah.
the middle of winter.
Wow.
So you need to either find yourself an indoor activity or something that to do outside.
Yeah.
And I'm actually, have you ever heard of winter biking?
No, I don't think so.
So basically, you take your mountain bike and you swap the tires so they have studs on it.
Oh,
and you
really?
can actually go through like snow and ice.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I've done it for 2 winters already.
Wow.
Super fun.
That sounds fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you gotta bundle up though, because you're gonna get cold.
Yes
yeah.
and no.
Oh, really?
Yes and no, because it takes so much more effort
Oh,
to
yeah.
go through like fresh snow sometimes that 200 meters down, you're already sweating.
Really?
So you have to start like opening up every single thing.
It's a
that
balance
you have.
of
Yeah.
staying warm and staying cool at the same time. Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. That's fascinating. I'd never heard of that. Yeah, very cool. So what are some of your plans and aspirations for the future? Like any cool projects, maybe your next step in education, any cool trips you want to go on? What are your dreams for the future?
So I will be defending my thesis in less than a month.
Okay, very cool.
Yeah, I'm actually pretty excited about it.
Good, good.
And I will be starting a postdoc at Oregon State University.
Nice.
It's going to be working with leafhoppers too and phytoplasmas too, but instead of canola, I'm going to be focusing on cherries.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that's kind of like a more like a short-term thing that I have going on. And I think that further down, I would like to keep working on these like insect plant pathogen interactions.
Mm-hmm.
I find them super fascinating
Yeah.
because there are some like examples where the pathogen sort of like manipulates the quality of the plants to make them more or less attractive to the vector or the insect that
Right.
Yeah. So
That transmitted it.
yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's kind of like my thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So anything else? Any other trips or anything?
Any other trips? So I'll be going to visit Argentina after a couple of years in
Nice.
December.
Very cool.
Super excited about it too.
Yeah. Do you have family there?
Yes.
Nice.
Family and friends.
Very cool.
And after that, just
Who knows?
moving to Oregon, and then I haven't like really thought about it that much.
Yeah. All right. Very cool. So last thing, is there anywhere that my viewers can go, like social media maybe or website, that we can go to learn about what you're doing and where you're going?
Okay, so one would be my the lab website where I'm at the University of Saskatchewan. That would be Prager Lab, Prager lab.ca.
Okay.
And then otherwise, you can also find me on Twitter. And sorry, I wrote down my handle because I always forget about it.
Yeah.
So that's Bugsabout1, Bugsabout1.
Sounds good. All right, so you guys can go follow her there. Thank you so much for being on the show, Berenice. This was so fun. This was a really great interview, so thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for inviting me, and I look forward to seeing all your other podcasts.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Lil Dudes Insect Academy podcast. If you enjoyed it, definitely consider dropping a follow on whatever platform you're listening on. And also, Lil Dudes Insect Academy is a nonprofit organization. So if you're passionate about science communication, entomology, outreach, and education, and you enjoy what we're doing and how we're solving that gap, then consider heading over to our website and donating there, or becoming a monthly donor via our Patreon, which is also linked in the show notes of this episode. Yeah, so share this episode with one of your friends, and tune in next week. I will see you all next week, and with that, keep on bugging.